everyone. I'm Renee Rollins, along with Lisa Burkhardt Worley and Michelle Burton. Welcome to Pop Talk, the show where you never know what topics might pop up. Pop Talk is sponsored by Prestige Development Properties, and it's an exciting time for us because we're taping here at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. Thanks to our friends at Overcomers TV and Frank's Speech for the use of their booth every day. We are beginning today's program by interviewing a leader at one of the most prestigious Christian film studios in the world. Lisa has the introduction.
Well, thank you so much, Renee. I met our guest, Cristobal Cruzen. I did good on that, didn't I? I practiced like 10 times before we started the show. But I met him at a global media summit, and I was just fascinated with him and his work. He is a producer, a director, and now an actor. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Through his company, Messenger Films. He's worked on many projects like Final Solution, Sabina K., and I saw that one. It was an excellent movie. Everyone needs to see it. More Than Dreams and Undaunted. But today we're going to learn about his latest film, which I have a really big heart for because my family has struggled with mental illness in the past, and it's called Let Me Have My Son. So we're just so glad to have you on Pop Talk, Cristobal. It's really great to see you again. I'm an admirer of your work and Messenger Films, and this particular work is very personal to you, isn't it? Can you explain why?
Well, the movie is based on what happened to my son, my firstborn, who developed schizophrenia in his later teen years and then was involuntarily committed to the state mental hospital when he turned 18. And he spent 5.5 years under lock and key at a state mental hospital in Virginia where we were living. And I became his legal guardian during that time and told the hospital administration, well, I've decided to move to Mexico with my other children, and you need to give me my son because he has to come with us. And we worked it out, moved to Mexico. He went into a psychiatric hospital initially there in Mexico City, and then after 4 months came home, which had been impossible before in the United States, I'm sorry to say. The doctors in Mexico felt he would do better if he could be at home. And I said, well, that's what I want. I want him to be at home. And so I brought him home, and things did look so promising for a year. And then he had a very terrible relapse, had to be hospitalized again, but in Mexico. And then after 3 years there in Mexico, we came to the United States again. And I tried to keep him at home, but it just wasn't possible. The reason I made the film, though, was more than just to tell those facts. There are really two reasons I made the film. And the first is that I wanted the world to meet my son, because I felt like he had been snatched away. You know, as a young man, a promising young man, I must say, too, you know, great athlete. His basketball coach in high school said he has dollar signs on his feet. You know, he just had all this promise, and then, like, it was as if he was kidnapped, taken away, and so I want the world to meet my son, and so I've made a movie so that people can meet Daniel, my son. I do change the names in the film. It's not meant to be a literal retelling of the facts. The second reason I made the film was to offer encouragement to others, because, as you shared, millions of people are going through something similar, and to the extent that my story can offer a cup of cold. You getting emotional is making me emotional, so maybe I should keep my eyes on.
I know. I'm sorry. I told you this is close to my my heart because my mother struggled with mental illness, and she was like so beautiful, and her life was just snuffed out all of her life. She never experienced the abundant life that we talk about as Christians. She never did. And I'm sorry, I'm going to just tell the story. At the end of her life, she was in a group home, and they handed me a shoebox, and they said to me, "Here's your mom's stuff." And at that moment, I knew a ministry was birthed because I didn't want any person's life to fit in a shoebox. And I know that's how you feel about your own son.
Yes. But I've broken out of that shoebox for sure. I want to believe the movie will be seen by millions eventually around the world. We've already dubbed it into Spanish, Portuguese. It'll be dubbed into German. And of course it'll be seen widely through North America, but around the world too. And so Daniel will have an impact, and he's doing better, I will say, in his own life. He's soon to be discharged from the hospital where he's been for 12 years. And he'll be living in a group home initially, and so things are looking up for us.
That's awesome.
Cristobal, I wanted to ask you, in the making of this film, how difficult was it to relive that, especially because you're playing the part of the father in the film, aren't you?
Yes, that's right. Well, a lot of the angst came out in the writing of the screenplay, I think, and that was done more in private, if you will, right? Many times in the writing of the screenplay, I would just weep. But once the screenplay was finished, it provided me a bedrock. It provided me an anchor. It provided me, I like to say, a backbone even. Like, we're able to sit up and stand upright because we have a backbone.
Yes.
And you can't make a movie without a script. And if the script is not a good script, you're going to slouch or whatever, or be in pain all the time, right? So the more time you spend perfecting as best you can that screenplay, the more you can rely on that backbone when you get into the trenches.
And the Lord really gave you the strength to keep perfecting that, even though you were going through that.
Yes. And in the filming, I remember toward the end of production, till the end of shooting, I was just utterly spent, and I was acting, directing, producing, and all of this activity going on around me, and I had to somehow stay aware and connected to it all. And I just lowered my head and I said, "God, help me. I'm just out of energy, and I felt, excuse me, I felt in that moment as though God was saying to me, trust the script. Trust the script. Lean on the script. And I've since thought, that's kind of like the Christian life when we go through hard times and trials. Trust the book.
Trust the book. I love that.
Lean on the book.
Trust the book. What a great word.
Don't give in to your feelings and your emotion, your physical exhaustion at times.
Absolutely.
Trust the book.
Amen.
Mental illness is one of those things that people don't talk about a lot. And yet 1 out of 5 children suffer from debilitating mental disorders. So why is it important to bring this issue to the forefront through a film like yours?
For the reason you say, it's so prevalent, much more prevalent than we realize or would think, right?
Right.
I don't know. I don't have any statistic, but I would venture to say that every family, if not every person, knows someone who has, is going through a trial related to mental health. My son has suffered from what they call severe mental health. I mean, he has not historically responded well to medications, but OCD is mental health, anxiety is mental health, depression. I mean, there are just so many aspects of it all. And we talk about physical health, right? Like,
Right.
how are you doing? How's your physical health, right? Well, I need to go to the gym, or I was.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all have mental health too, don't
Yes.
we? You know, and so that's how I would account for it. It's just part of the fabric of life.
You know, a lot of people with mental illness really can't help it, and that's what we found out about my mom. She
Yeah.
had a traumatic event, the sudden death of my dad 2 months before I was born of a heart attack. Doctor, she had it all, American dream, and that was it. It snapped her. I think it did something to her brain, and she ended up on all these heavy-duty meds that later they just determined caused brain damage. And so I think people understand they don't think like we think, and
Yeah.
we have to love them where they're at, right?
Absolutely.
And so can you talk a little bit about the storyline about your son and perhaps where it all started?
The breakdown, or
Yeah, well, just can you just talk about the type of mental illness he had
Yeah.
and just where you began to notice it and how the movie
Yeah.
developed?
Well, there has been mental illness in the family. So on my side of the family, his mother's side of the family, and psychiatrists have told me that in all likelihood, Daniel's his illness came from the result of a genetic predisposition that was likely triggered by some drug use, and there was trauma in the home, I'm sorry to say, as well, that couldn't have helped. But I'd rather not go into that so much, if you don't mind.
No, you don't have to.
No.
Okay.
It's such an honor for me to say right now, first of all, what a pleasure it is to just sit here and spend time with you, because I see your heart. And I know that there are going to be so many people out there watching this that the enemy has attacked them and said, don't get help. No one needs to know.
All right.
This is the way you are. Even for parents, the guilt that we carry. So I just want to say thank you so much. And we are so honored right now. Lisa, are we ready for that trailer?
Yes, we're going to roll the trailer, at least in post-production, we're going to roll the trailer. And from the movie, Let Me Have My Son.
I'm really glad to hear that you're going to show the trailer, because I haven't really given you an idea of what the film is about. It's not a documentary. It's not meant to portray everything exactly as it happened.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So we'll have a trailer here, and then should we pick up now? Okay, go ahead.
So how can people find out about Let Me Have My Son, and how can people help you to produce more quality films like this one?
Well, those are two great questions. I appreciate you asking them.
Absolutely.
If you can remember the title of the movie and add a .com, that's how you can find out about how to watch it. And so yeah, go to letmehavemyson.com, and all the information is there to buy a ticket to watch the movie. We open today. We're not
Perfect.
in theaters, but we're globally, worldwide. It releases today at a specific website that you have to go to watch the film.
And I want to just clarify, it's based on the story, but it's not exactly the story, right? It's a movie, it's a film.
Right. It
Yeah.
takes artistic license. There's a little disclaimer up front, inspired by real events. And that was deliberate. I felt led to explore the feelings that, in this case, the father has concerning his son. And, you know, Robert Frost, the poet, he said, what is poetry? Somebody asked him, what is poetry? And he said, well, poetry is emotion, often the deepest emotion, searching for words. And so the movie is trying to bring forth the deepest of emotions in pictures and story and acting and so forth, production.
Love our
Well, thank you so much, Cristobal Cruzen, for being on Pop Talk. If you want to find Cristobal and his new film, Let Me Have My Son, you can find more at his website, and that is messengerfilms.com.
Oh yeah, that's how you can help me. Donate to Messenger Films.
Go to Messenger
Yes.
Films and donate, messengerfilms.com.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. You know me as the My Pillow guy, but what you might not know is my story. I was a former addict, including crack cocaine. My memoir will not only speak to entrepreneurs and those struggling with addiction, but also to anyone looking for hope. Throughout my life, I've always used mathematics to prove that God exists. We've all had moments in our lives that are a 1 in a million or a 1 in a billion, or we say, wow, that's impossible. Well, when do we add them together and say it has to be a miracle? My life has been like living inside of a movie. In my book, I have pictures that are going to validate everything you're going to read. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible.
Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Mike spent the last 7 years writing his book to share his life story. In this difficult time we are in, Mike's book will bring much needed inspiration and hope to everyone who reads it.
But now the game was over. The house had won. I was going to die right here on this deserted street. A small item in the news. American tourist goes missing in Mexico.
Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Mike's personal stories of transformation remind us that with faith, all things are possible. Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Visit MyPillow.com or call now.
In 1953, Jack Drake set up a borrowed tent on donated land just west of the Navajo Nation. There, Four Corners Home for Children was born. Since then, over 2,000 children have passed through our doors, and there is always room for more. Our House of Hope offers shelter to children in crisis. The House of Faith is a long-term home where children can grow and thrive. Our House of Grace provides life skills training to older teenagers as they work toward independence. The Four Corners Academy for Excellence provides educational opportunities in an environment conducive to learning. Navajo Nation Outreach provides for the needs of the Navajo people. Addiction recovery, food distribution, providing Bibles in the Navajo language. Four Corners Home for Children, serving in Navajo land since 1953. A place for children to call home.
A 100 years? Miami Rescue Mission is 100 years old. They are serving the homeless and the hungry. They are serving food. They are giving showers. They are giving clothing. They are helping abused women and children that desperately need safe shelter. The Miami Rescue Mission, now called the Caring Place, is caring for those who are hurting in our communities.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit MyPillow.com. From promos and commercials to full-length shows, Horizon Media Studios can script, voice, and fully produce programming for television, streaming, and other media. For 15 years and 250 ministries, this Christ-centered 501c3 nonprofit ministry is dedicated to high-quality production and helping other nonprofits produce media. Horizon Media Studios is coming to NRB 2023. Be sure to stop by booth 733 and we'll see you in Orlando. New York is the greatest city in America with a dark secret. It's also home to the most abortions per year in America. EMCFrontline.org believes every heartbeat is a life before and after birth. EMC stands for Expectant Mother Care, providing free pregnancy counseling, practical resources like ultrasounds, postpartum, and educational support. If you have a positive pregnancy test, don't panic. Call us to verify your pregnancy with an ultrasound. EMCFrontline.org. Make a donation today and help save a life.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm excited to announce my new product, My Coffee. It's the best tasting coffee ever. It starts with the beans that are grown in Honduras, which has the perfect climate for growing coffee plants, producing the best beans ever. Each batch is tested to meet the very highest industry standards, and all the production's done right here in the USA. You get them ground whole bean or in single-serve coffee pods, plus it's certified organic and non-GMO. It's like you're getting that small batch specialty coffee delivered monthly right to your front door. So go to mystore.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 50% on your My Coffee subscription. Not only that, when you sign up today, you're going to get a Go Anywhere My Pillow absolutely free. You can cancel anytime and keep the Go Anywhere My Pillow as my gift to you. Thanks for supporting my new platform for USA entrepreneurs, mystore.com.
No matter where you are, if you have ears to hear, you can listen to a Bible with one simple tool, the sun. Global Reach Ministry is dedicated to spreading the word of Jesus with solar audio Bibles in any language. No wall charger or electricity is needed, just the sun. This innovative Agia solar player is an extremely effective tool to help bring the gospel to even the most remote areas of the world and to countries with many different languages. Go to globalreachministry.com to find out more. When you buy one solar audio Bible, we'll send one to a family who will benefit from hearing God's Word. For organizations ordering large orders, please ask for our special price. God's Word is the living water, and it is our commission to spread the gospel and create disciples. Go to globalreachministry.com and order your solar audio Bible today.
Tune in to Overcomers TV on your favorite app or streaming platform. It's time to overcome.
Welcome to Grace with Dinah Michelle.
We're either going to stand for something or we're going to fall for everything. This word is how God speaks. Lord, we just pray right now in the name of Jesus. He's the God of all things possible. He's the God of all miracles. Jesus is the gate to heaven. You can walk in power and authority.
raise awareness of ministries and also mobilize the body of Christ to get involved and answer the call. Tell us about your favorite ministry. Email us at info@atctv.org.
Celebrate what Jesus is doing throughout the nation and rise up to answer His call on your life. To serve the poor, heal the broken, free the captives, and bring joy to those in need. Find hope, encouragement, and motivation through Overcomers TV. This inspiring network features everyday people and ministries across America who are putting God's love in action. Tune in to Overcomers TV on your favorite app or streaming platform. It's time to overcome.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. You know me as the My Pillow guy, but what you might not know is my story. I was a former addict, including crack cocaine. My memoir will not only speak to entrepreneurs and those struggling with addiction, but also to anyone looking for hope. Throughout my life, I've always used mathematics to prove that God exists. We've all had moments in our lives that are a 1 in a million or a 1 in a billion, or we say, wow, that's impossible. Well, when do we add them together and say it has to be a miracle? My life has been like living inside of a movie. In my book, I have pictures that are going to validate everything you're going to read. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible.
Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From crack addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Mike spent the last 7 years writing his book to share his life story. In this difficult time we are in, Mike's book will bring much needed inspiration and hope to everyone who reads it.
But now the game was over. The house had won. I was going to die right here on this deserted street. A small item in the news. American tourist goes missing in Mexico.
Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From crack addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Mike's personal stories of transformation remind us that with faith, all things are possible. Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From crack addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Visit MyPillow.com or call now.
In 1953, Jack Drake set up a borrowed tent on donated land just west of the Navajo Nation. There, Four Corners Home for Children was born. Since then, over 2,000 children have passed through our doors, and there is always room for more. Our House of Hope offers shelter to children in crisis. The House of Faith is a long-term home where children can grow and thrive. Our House of Grace provides life skills training to older teenagers as they work toward independence. The Four Corners Academy for Excellence provides educational opportunities in an environment conducive to learning. Navajo Nation Outreach provides for the needs of the Navajo people. Addiction recovery, food distribution, providing Bibles in the Navajo language. Four Corners Home for Children, serving in Navajo land since 1953. A place for children to call home.
Hello, I'm Burkhardt Worley, and welcome to Pop Talk, the show where you never know what topics might pop up. And we want to to thank the sponsor of this program, Prestige Development Properties. We're here at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, where a lot of media people from all over the world gather. It is crazy here at the expo. We've got booths everywhere, and this is where we're recording Pop Talk this week, and it's been a lot of fun to work with Overcomers TV. We're at the Frank Speech booth as well, so this has been a fun experience for our Pop Talk team. And by the way, I want to introduce our Pop Talk girls. To my far right is Michelle Burton.
Hey, everyone.
And to my immediate right is Renee Rollins. And today we have a great show for you, 2 guests, and it's all about the subject of exploration. We'll tell you about that in just a minute, but Renee is going to introduce our first guest.
Thanks, Lisa. Our first guest is filmmaker Tim Mahoney, the creator of Patterns of Evidence, Journey to Mount Sinai, Part 2. Tim is an award-winning director of 6 feature films, including, and I'm going to read these, The Red Sea Miracle, 1 and 2, Patterns of Evidence, The Moses Controversy, and Patterns of Evidence, The Exodus. Tim is the founder of Thinking Man Films and Media and a Minneapolis-based international documentary and publishing company. Tim has spent almost 20 years exploring some of the biggest questions of the Bible and what they mean to our world today. Welcome, Tim.
Well, thanks for having me, ladies.
It's good to have you. Yes. I thought your subject was fascinating. We love good topics, and so I can't wait to hear more from you.
Of course, the most current of your films, Patterns of Evidence, Mount Sinai 1 and 2. The movie that is out now shows the completion of a 20-year search of the true location of Mount Sinai. When God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. Tim, why was this a quest of yours?
Originally, I was thinking that I was only going to be doing a project that would probably take about a half a year. And that started with the first film on the Exodus. And I was able to, it was an interesting time too, right after 9/11, I had been working on a project to go search for evidence of the Exodus, and then the 9/11 event happened. And but 6 months later, I still had that passion, and I went into Egypt to search for evidence. But what happened to me was I ended up having a crisis of faith, because they told me there wasn't any evidence for the biblical story. I returned home, and through God's providence, a number of things happened that sent me back to Egypt again. And that's when we started uncovering what would be a scientific approach, a pattern of evidence. You could say, well, what does the Bible have? Can I find it? And that's what we did.
Wow. There are 6 locations that you visited in these films. Can you share about some of them and why they are sacred locations where Moses met God?
Yeah. Well, when I do an investigation, I try to figure out, because you hear that there are different people have different ideas, like what sea was crossed. And so the patterns approach, when we did it with Red Sea Miracle, we were looking for, well, what sea would it be? Was it the Red Sea? Was it the Reed Sea? Where was this location? And was the sea parted by natural wind, or was it supernatural? Did God part a mighty sea? And those are some of the types of investigations that we actually do. And when it came to the mountain, we looked at 6 different mountain locations.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you're going to talk about that in the film. You know, a lot of people would say, hey, that was in the past, why worry about it, right? But why should Christians pay attention to archaeology?
Well, here's the truth of the matter. A lot of people that are older have already just believed the Bible, right? They just they believe it. But guess what? Your children and your grandchildren are being challenged right now. You send them off to university. You could potentially send them off to a Christian college even, and some professors might say, we don't really know if this happened, and someone will say, it doesn't really matter if it happened. But what I could see is that, and then what has happened, I've had testimonies of families that said, my children don't believe the Bible is true. They don't believe that these events happen. And that's what happened to me when I had my crisis of faith. So what I've done is I've gone and started to look for these patterns, and we've uncovered an amazing pattern of evidence that completely turns everything else on its head. And that's why this is so significant, because your children are going to be challenged to they're going to be said that there's no reason why you should believe the Bible. And if you don't believe the Old Testament, Jesus talks about these events. And what those scholars will say is Jesus doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why this is important. You have to wake up and start to own this for yourself.
Well, you know, a verse comes to mind: "If you seek me, you will find me." And I feel like that's what you're doing. You were having a challenge in your faith. You had a faith crisis, and you sought him. And I know you found him. I know you did.
Right. And so in the very first film, I didn't know we were going to find this, but you know, Joseph is a key character. And what we've uncovered is that they were saying they couldn't find the evidence for it, but down beneath the surface, deeper in time, was the evidence for the Israelites. Joseph, his family, his palace, graves. There looks like there's a pyramid tomb, and we show these scenes in our films. And the conquest, we show actually Jericho, and what we're going to show all sorts of evidence that really is. I think it's so inspiring and affirming for people. And I've had children who've had been in Sunday school, and the teacher said, "We don't really think this really happened. There's no evidence for it." And one of our employees, son said, "Wait a minute, that's not true. There's a pattern of evidence," and then things would turn around. This has happened in colleges. It's happened all sorts of places. But we need to give our children this clarity that there is a pattern of evidence for the Bible.
Yeah, nobody can dispute the evidence, right?
Exactly. I was sitting here, I was thinking about also how this ties into worship. And I'm a worship leader, and I love it. I love worship. But I wanted to ask you, Tim, how does modern worship, tie in with the documentary about Mount Sinai?
Every film that I make, I'm asking the Lord, what is this about? Why am I making this film? And I could see, I made a film called The Moses Controversy, and it was really about the writing of the Bible. What I learned from that film was that God has given us the alphabet, and we're going to see the alphabet show up right where the Israelites are to know who he is. And it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So God has given us a tool that we all use. Now in this movie, I learned that the Israelites were to go to Mount Sinai to worship him. And while I was making this movie, I've had people stop me and say, "Tim, I was very discouraged at times making these films." And this one, I was at a coffee shop, and a pastor said, "Tim, how's it going?" I said, "I don't know where to begin." And he said, "You need to spend more time worshiping the Lord."
Amen.
And guess what I've been learning is that we're going to be facing crisis. And the Israelites, they were fearful all along the way. They had seen what God had done, but they forgot. It says, don't forget what God has done. Yes. And so I believe that God is calling us. This film is a call to me, making this film, that I need to find my strength in worship. Not just on Sunday morning, but I've started to take, and I have a guitar at home, and my wife and I have just sat in the living room in the middle, of an evening and said, let's worship the Lord. And I think we need that time of worship for each of us. We were created to worship God.
Amen. And God inhabits the praises of his people.
Yes, he does.
He does. And so when we worship, he is there and he receives that, and we are in his presence. That is so good.
He honors our time.
I love worshiping the Lord. I went from a denomination that did not really worship openly like that, and I went to another place that did. Woo! I was set free. I was just loosed because I got a chance to worship in the way that I felt I needed to worship. Yeah,
absolutely. And Lisa and I are working on our doctor of ministry, and I know that we've grown spiritually as well through our papers and projects that we work on. So in the same way, what did you personally learn about faith while researching and filming the project?
Well, each time I'm seeing is that God is acting in history, and we just sometimes don't see it. And I think that, the Israelites were told to write down, and Moses was writing down the testimony. And we call it the Old Testament and the New Testament. It's a testimony of God acting. And I would challenge anyone. What I've learned is you should spend an hour or two and just pray and say, Lord, help me to remember the things that you've done in the past. And just go back from your childhood. I made a movie called The Journey Home, and I'm testifying to God acting in my life in that film. Each one of us, God has acted in our life. And what I'm a filmmaker that is investigating, did God act? Can we see evidence of that? That's what these patterns of evidence are for. We're seeing a pattern of God acting in history. And as we move forward, in fact, I was going to say this. I have a new project.
Yes. Michael
Medved wrote a book called The American Miracle, and he asked me if I would help him make it into a feature film, and we're coming out with this. Guess what? God has acted in the history of America. And in 2026, we're going to have the 250th anniversary. A lot of people don't see God in our country, but He has been. And this is a documentation of all sorts of amazing, miraculous events of God acting. And we're going to put that into film. Motion picture will be in theaters nationwide.
Now that needs to be everywhere.
That's
absolutely.
exciting.
I think it'll be evidence for people to believe. I just think that's incredible that you're doing that project. Hey, I've got to ask you a question before I ask the next question about your current work.
Yeah.
Read or read seeds? I just got to know from the, can you tell us?
Okay, that's a great question.
Because I just really had this dilemma lately.
She needs the answer.
I need an answer.
Yeah.
Because I didn't ever even think it was not the Red Sea, and now
I understand you have a Jewish heritage,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, well, that language was Hebrew.
Okay.
In Hebrew, the word was called Yam Suf. Yam meaning sea, Suf. What does that word mean? Some people thought it meant read. Some people thought it meant end of. And so eventually, when people had a hard time believing in miracles, they called it the Red Sea for a while because that was this big sea. They didn't know which one it was necessarily. Some people thought it was the Gulf of Suez. The Sinai Peninsula, as people know, is like a Y. Yeah. And on the one side there's the Suez, and the other side is the Gulf of Aqaba. So what happened was, as people became, during the time of evolution growing, people started to disbelieve in miracles. And the idea that maybe wind just naturally blew the coastline, that could possibly be. So the miraculous idea started moving more into shallow bodies of water. And that's where they said, well, maybe this means reedy sea, not Red Sea, because of the tuf. Tuf is Egyptian for reeds, and suf, they thought maybe there's a connection. But every reference that the Bible has in the book of, in the Bible about the sea that was crossed, Yam Suf, always places it at this deep Gulf of Aqaba. And that's the position that I'm taking, is that the sea that was crossed was the right arm, not anywhere else.
Okay, that helps me a little bit. It's still deep, and it's still a miraculous thing that God did, opening that up, and then, of course, it all poured up onto the Egyptian army, and they were safe, and they got away, and I think it's incredible that you're doing that kind of research. Now, I've recently delved into the documentary filmmaking business, and I want to fight anti-Semitism, and of course, when I do a documentary, I want people to get something out of it. I want them to be aware of anti-Semitism, but for you, what do you want people to get out of your project? When they walk away from the theaters, what do you want them to be saying? What do you want them to be thinking? Can you go into that?
Yeah. Well, my company is called Thinking Man Films. And some people say, well, why are you making these films? Because I want to know, is this true? If we're going to be called... Now, there are times when from all of our lives where the Holy Spirit comes in and we know we have an encounter with God, and that's how we come to faith. But as we grow older, we also want to know, when people say there's no evidence for any of this, I've been called to search for the pattern, and I'm sharing it. Not everybody can go to Egypt or Israel or Saudi Arabia, Jordan, but God has given me the opportunity to do that. What I like them to do is to think. I like the person who doesn't believe to think. And one time in the very beginning, I showed him some of a businessman. We were out to dinner. I showed him this evidence. And you know what he said? He said, if this is true, it changes everything.
Yes. Wow.
Because the Holy Spirit can use this pattern of evidence. And then you start to realize that, listen, what more do we need to show you? But the challenge is even when Jesus was around, he performed miracles. Some believed and some didn't.
Right.
And that's the challenge, right?
Right.
So what do I want them to do? I want them to be fair. I'm trying to give them as much evidence I can to encourage believers and to challenge non-believers.
You're doing your job, you're putting the information out there. Then they can decide.
Yep.
Tim, thank you so much for being on our show, on Pop Talk. This was great. What an amazing calling you have on your life.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate being on a show that's named after me, because my grandkids call me Papa. So
I love that. Just tell them that you do have a show.
Yeah.
Again, everybody, Tim Mahoney's most recent film, again, is Patterns of Evidence, Journey to Mount Sinai, Part 2, and you can find out more at Tim's website, patternsofevidence.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. You know me as the My Pillow guy, but what you might not know is my story. I was a former addict, including crack cocaine. My memoir will not only speak to entrepreneurs and those struggling with addiction, but also to anyone looking for hope. Throughout my life, I've always used mathematics to prove that God exists. We've all had moments in our lives that are a 1 in a million or a 1 in a billion, or we say, wow, that's impossible. Well, when do we add them together and say it has to be a miracle? My life has been like living inside of a movie. In my book, I have pictures that are going to validate everything you're going to read. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible.
Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From crack addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Mike spent the last 7 years writing his book to share his life story. In this difficult time we are in, Mike's book will bring much needed inspiration and hope to everyone who reads it.
But now the game was over. The house had won. I was going to die right here on this deserted street. A small item in the news. American tourist goes missing in Mexico.
Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From crack addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Mike's personal stories of transformation remind us that with faith, all things are possible. Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From crack addict to CEO. Use your promo code to get Mike's book for only $9.97 and free shipping. Visit MyPillow.com or call now.
In 1953, Jack Drake set up a borrowed tent on donated land just west of the Navajo Nation. There, Four Corners Home for Children was born. Since then, over 2,000 children have passed through our doors, and there is always room for more. Our House of Hope offers shelter to children in crisis. The House of Faith is a long-term home where children can grow and thrive. Our House of Grace provides life skills training to older teenagers as they work toward independence. The Four Corners Academy for Excellence provides educational opportunities in an environment conducive to learning. Navajo Nation Outreach provides for the needs of the Navajo people. Addiction recovery, food distribution, providing Bibles in the Navajo language. Four Corners Home for Children, serving in Navajo land since 1953. A place for children to call home.
A 100 years? Miami Rescue Mission is 100 years old. They are serving the homeless and the hungry. They are serving food. They are giving showers. They are giving clothing. They are helping abused women and children that desperately need safe shelter. The Miami Rescue Mission, now called the Caring Place, is caring for those who are hurting in our communities.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit MyPillow.com.
From promos and commercials to